this dialysis. I'm so sick of all these holes and ports and this. I had a machine in my side here. It's this big. It's hard to sleep. It's a defibrillator to keep my heart going. It stops because it can stop at any time, all day, all night. All that on my mind all the time is so stressful.
Well, I noticed some kind of odor when I got there. This is a weird odor, but people say they can't see, touch, taste, and smell. But I don't know.
Was the odor outside? Was it inside?
It was inside the base itself. Period. When you're in the Marine Corps, you're 100% compliance. If you're not 100% compliance, then they can make it really tough for you. Yes, they did complain, but no one mentioned it to the higher ups because that would have been devastating for all of us.
So you guys drank the water as well?
Yeah, I drank the water. I bathed in the water. I mean, I was everywhere. You drink the water, and I didn't notice anything wrong at the time.
Did you start getting sick right away? When did you notice
No.
you weren't feeling well?
That I was stationed to Washington, D.C. It showed up there. It didn't show up initially.
How many years after you had left?
It wasn't years. It was a matter of months. I went from being the sharp shooting Marine to they couldn't understand why I was acting erratic, acting the way that I was acting.
So do you think the military knew that they were poisoning our veterans?
Let me start by saying this. I think after all of this has been said and done, I think the military would have known that this water was contaminated. I do.
So how did you end up at Camp Lejeune?
Well, you really don't have a choice in where you go coming out of boot
That was
camp.
the first place they took you?
That was the first place after school in Aberdeen, Maryland. I was sent to Camp Lejeune, where I was among the first. I was the first woman armorer there, first African-American woman armorer at New River Air Station. And so I was there from 79 to 86.
Did you feel like you were being poisoned?
Well, the one thing that stood out was the fact that when we turned the water on, you had to let it run 20, 30 minutes before it became clear. And it always had this little musty smell to it. So as women, we bathed in that water. We washed our hair in that water. We drank that water. And if you were living in housing or you had a barracks where you could cook, you cooked in that water.
So what about the higher ups? The colonels, the generals? Did they drink the same water?
The senior officers would drink bottled water. So
did anybody complain about the taste of the water, the smell? Were there any complaints at all?
Let it run, is what you were told. Let it run.
And so even after it cleared up, it still had that taste and that smell to it, but it lost a lot of the cloudiness. Mm-hmm. And you guys continued to drink it. You had no other choice.
We gave birth in that water. For women, you kept chronic UTIs. They couldn't explain to us that there. The water was brown. There was nothing you could do. You get your clothes cleaned at the cleaners on Camp Lejeune. You itch. We didn't know we were poisoned. We just knew that the water was bad. You turned it on, you let it run until it became clear, and then you used it.
Were families impacted?
Oh, yeah. I lost my mother. I have several friends who lost their mother. I lost my brother last year. He had renal kidney failure. And every hospital he went to here in Metro Atlanta could not tell him why his kidney shut down until I told him to tell them, you were at Camp Lejeune with me.
And how did the water impact you personally?
Oh, 9 miscarriages, stillborn. I itch from the inside out. I have hematomas on my brain, old and new. Several different ways, mentally, emotionally, of course physically, because now you're dealing with a myriad of illnesses that there's really no cure for. So you're messing with all them chemicals, cleaning wet wounds and everything. So we're exposed. They knew, and I have no doubt, I believe it, that they've known all along.
They hired doctors to actually fight against Marines who were trying to bring claims.
They did.
Why would we do our veterans that way?
But Congress knew what was going on the whole time. I have no doubt. The Department of the Navy knew what they were doing.
These people really did some real jacked up stuff to us. And there's so many dead. The baby heaven is the one that's the worst. They ruined my life. They did. I can't do any of the things that I'm used to doing anymore. And, I be out there, and I can't be out there like I used to, As a mechanic, you have to use the different contaminating toxins, which were TCE and PCE, to clean the parts as well as the vehicles so that you could paint them and pack bearings and things of that nature. So we didn't use gloves, we didn't use any masks, we breathed it in, we had it in our skin, we walked through it, the water, we wore leather boots which did not have any coating or anything on them to keep your feet from getting wet either. So by the time the end of the day was complete, your feet looked like you had been walking in water all day and all shriveled up. So we were contaminated from the head down.
Why didn't anyone know at that particular time that there was a possibility there could have been contamination in the water? Because, you had smell, you had taste. Nobody asked the question?
The questions were asked, but we were told to suck it up, as they do. We signed a blank check and they cashed it at our expense. So we are the ones who now deal with the illnesses.
What about the leadership? Did you notice them drinking the same water, taking baths in the same water?
Well, as far as the officers were concerned, they had bottled water, the big tanks, and you weren't allowed to even think about taking a cup and getting any. You had to drink out of your canteen, and we had these other tankers that carried water out into the field. That's what they drank. Our barracks were horrible.
Talk about that.
The water was awful. You had to turn it on, and when it came out, it was brown, and you let it run until the odor would go away, which consumed you sometimes and made you ill to your stomach. Once the water ran clear, you were allowed to bathe in it. However, it was still an odor.
Is that water still contaminated? Do
Yes.
you believe somebody treated it in a way where it would harm citizens or our veterans?
They purposely dumped tanks and drums of contaminants in the drinking water. I saw it happen with my own eyes. Not just them, but other companies came on the base and dropped chemicals into our drinking water as well.
Now, Crystal, I know you spoke up on
Oh my,
on the water.
yeah.
Can you tell us about that experience?
Everybody had turned their backs to us, even when I wrote to 4 different presidents in regards to my illnesses and what was going on with me. Nothing.
And it wasn't just the veterans.
No.
It was also your families.
My family,
your kids.
my children, all the civilian workers. Anybody who worked on the base was contaminated. I lost my mother behind the contamination. Rare disease, they could never figure out what happened to her. I had my daughter Amber at the base. She's got issues. Her kids have issues. All my grandchildren have some type of issue, be it neural, physical, mental, medical.
Have you found that in filing claims that African Americans are receiving different treatment than?
Most certainly. And it's been documented. Just recently, African Americans are getting less than deserving when it comes to their benefits and how long it's taken for them to get their benefits. There's some people who's been waiting 30 years and others immediately as soon as they file. It's going to be a long fight. It's sad to say it, but it's not over. We got a long way to go.